What's something your employer did that instantly killed employee morale? Banned smartphones in the break room to force us to talk to one another and build camaraderie. Ends up we didn't like each other that much. No raises or bonuses this year due to company performance. But I will make it up to you by taking the whole company to the lake for a trip on my new 30-foot boat. In a very short span of time, they changed everyone's 401k plan for worse and then implemented an office-wide cleanliness policy. No eating at your desk. Only 3 personal items on your desk. Everything labeled. No items other than your keyboard, mouse, and monitors on your desk at the end of the day. Talk about Madoff. You could feel the gloom when you walked in. Everyone's give a crap to broke at once. Large factory, not unionized. Each department clocks in at a different place. Mainly that department's break room. My department clocked in across the facility from the main entrance, which meant it took about 15 minutes to walk from the front door to where you clocked in and out at, and another 5 to walk from that entrance to the parking lot. There was a side exit that we would use. However, that literally cut that walk down from 20 minutes to 3. Since our department was right next to the parking lot, management decided that all employees must enter and exit through the same door, which meant we had to walk all the way down to the main entrance and then back around to our cars. There was so much rebellion from the employees in our department that they had to bar the door shut with 2 X4s. Jokes on them. Even unionized employees can be a pain in the ass. We contacted the fire marshal, who upon seeing a fire exit barricaded, fined the company $80. We still were not allowed to enter through this door, but they stopped trying to stop us. To cut costs, they started a policy that only certain departments had internet access. It basically started a class system that bred resentment across departments and caused an exodus from the non-internet teams. In a company of 6 people, owner said in a meeting with everyone that his 2 sales guys are irreplaceable and that the rest of us are just paper pushers. We were once in the middle of a very stressful period of work, and everyone was feeling it. However, one afternoon, an offhand comment turned into a conversation that we all got involved with and led to a few laughs. My manager, returning from a meeting, piped up, "Oh, we've finished tomorrow's work. Have we? What's all this about?" Insert subject matter. Entire team instantly deflated. Unnecessary. Every employee needs time to blow off a little steam. Former teacher. The administrators at my school were usually pretty chill, but had a habit of randomly coming up with minor rules that they would enforce for us. Male teachers had to wear ties even on Jeans Day, etc. Overall it wasn't bad. Except for the time an administrator made a crucial mistake. They banned staff from drinking coffee in front of students. Now if you've never worked in a school, you'd think this isn't a big deal. When you spend nearly 100% of your day in front of students, it definitely is a big deal. First we tried to find any loophole we could. Energy drinks? Banned the next week. Tea? Banned 2 days later. It was chaos. Eventually, we realized they couldn't fire an entire school's worth of teachers and aides. So we ended up doing the one thing that private schools fear most. We formed a union. Realistically, it was more of a weird pseudo-union focused specifically on civil disobedience regarding the coffee issue, but it ruffled feathers nonetheless. The administrators caved to our demands, allowed us to drink coffee again, and even bought each of us a reusable coffee mug as a gesture of goodwill. And that's the story of how a handful of school administrators almost accidentally created a teachers union over a complete non-issue. Removed COLA raises each year for all employees, and implemented a raise when promoted or take on more responsibility model. However, promotions are very rare and raises are never approved. So everyone is losing money to inflation each year, and they tried to sell it as a big win for the employees. We aren't stupid people. Casually said the best employee was X, and everyone, including X, knew that X was among those who did the least amount of work. Edit. X was the most friendly to the boss, always coming in to say hi. Do you need anything? Fired the girl who was in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy 3 days before her maternity leave was to start. Held a super positive pep rally style company-wide meeting about how they were going to start combining our sick days with our vacation days and now just call them PTO. This was presented to us as a great thing, since we could all now use our PTO days fully as vacation days if we wanted to. Once the system was implemented, everyone realized that instead of getting 10 vacation days and 10 sick days per year, we now all had 15 PTO days. Everyone was mad. Head of department realized that we weren't about to meet our targets for the financial year, completely banned annual leave for 3 months, forced anyone who didn't fill in their timesheet on time to attend disciplinary meeting, despite problems with the system, meaning that some didn't get filled in, and generally had lower management terrified, causing a massive blame culture and several people to be signed off with mental health issues. In the end, the employee survey which went to his bosses was hilariously bad, and he's now somewhere else making some other people's lives a misery. The best part was when his replacement came in and fired his right-hand man who was also a peen. It was a 1-2 punch. The company-wide meeting announced the promotion of several high-level management and executives, mostly title and responsibility changes. Lots of smiles and handshakes, not unlike a college graduation ceremony. After these promotion announcements, they declared that due to the stagnant economy and poor sales, the entire company will be experiencing a pay freeze as a result. So, no raises for anyone. They then concluded the meeting by discontinuing casual Fridays. So, no more jeans on Friday. It almost felt like it was designed to make people want to quit and leave. It worked though. I and many others moved on to greener pastures within the year. They banned phones, electronics, puzzles, books, etc. from being used at your desk. I work at a call center. We were expected to just sit and wait for the next call to come in distraction free, even if it was a super slow day. Told a bunch of people they were going to be promoted to get us to do extra work. No one got promoted. I basically did her job for a month. Me and 3 of my co-workers quit, and she got fired a few months later. Had a boss everyone loved. Then she got transferred to another store and the new guy that replaced her decided the schedule that we'd all gotten used to needed to be shaken up. He posted the next week's schedule that was completely different than it had been under the previous manager. Got a bunch of complaints from people saying they can't work X days or Y times, and it seemed he was receptive since he took that schedule down. Then suddenly bam, he just reposted the same exact schedule and said frick everyone. Oh, we had some people calling in sick from time to time under the old manager, but this new manager has pretty much half his crew every single day calling out because of his crappy tactics. Here's the first thing to learn about being a good manager. You don't need to shake things up for people to be better workers. You don't need to put your mark on anything. If it's working just fine the way it was. Changed up the metrics that determined people's bonuses and included things that were important for the business to know, but completely beyond the control of the people whose bonuses were impacted. For example, we had a right party contact rate, how many times you actually got the person you were calling vs the number of calls you actually made. The problem was the phone number list came from elsewhere, and the people making the calls were just given a list of numbers, and you had to call them all. No leeway. So you're calling blind from a list you don't control and get penalized if the list is crap. Oddly enough, the people in charge of making the phone number lists, their bonuses were not influenced by right party contact rate. Put up a poster that said complaining is like vomiting. You feel better but everyone around you feels sick. The morale was already bad, but it was just a crappy way to take a hit at upset employees rather than do anything positive. Was working for EB Games when GameStop bought them. 20% of any warranty and $1 for every subscription sold went into your paycheck as commission. And you'd never feel dirty selling the things. Because Edge Magazine, EB's answer to Game Informer, and their extended warranties were legit and fairly priced. GameStop buys the company. First thing they do, nix the commissions. You still have to sell the stuff, of course. I'll never forget the first meeting I had with GameStop as a manager. They really drilled how profitable those things are to the company. Soon after came the threats of reduced hours if you didn't hit quotas, mandated by corporate. Yeah. Frick GameStop. I was one of a large number of programmers working on a project at CSC. We had a deadline coming up in a couple months and they overpromised to the client and then asked us all to work extra hard to meet the deadline and asked us to work 50+ hour weeks, which we did and then some. Some of us put in 70, 80 hour weeks to meet this deadline. But once that deadline was met, suddenly there was another deadline they needed to meet, and another. People got tired, had lives to lead, and scaled back on their hours. Most of us were still working 50, 60 hours a week, but not a lot more than that. Once they realized we weren't killing ourselves on their project any longer, there was an all hands meeting where the managers told us that they were incredibly disappointed in our lack of professionalism because so comparatively few employees were now working more than 50 hours a week. One of our harder workers stood up and said, "Look, I have 3 kids. I'm driving an hour into and out of work every day. I'm taking care of my family. I'm trying to get presents for Christmas, write out Christmas cards, decorate and clean the house for everyone we are having over for the holidays. I'm having a really hard time just getting to 50. And the manager looked at her and sneered. If it wasn't Christmas, it'd be because it's Easter, or Memorial Day, or because it's summer and it's nice out. You'd always have some excuse. There was dead silence in the room. When we left that meeting, we didn't talk to each other, but every single worker on that project put in exactly 50 hours a week after that. Then came Christmas raise and bonus time. Every worker on the project got a 1/2% raise. The managers got a 5-figure bonus. We were mad. For management, the pain came after Christmas. First week off the year, 4 programmers had better jobs lined up and quit. 3 more the following week. 5 the next. We hemorrhaged 5 programmers every single week for over 3 months. It got to the point where the managers had to schedule a meeting every Monday at 11 to discuss that week's resignations and rearrange the surviving staff. Frick CSC. Started firing people by lining 2 up at a time and seeing which one they prefer to keep on. Didn't matter if you were there for 20 years or 2. Also hiring management from outside and not promoting within, which means the new managers have no knowledge of anything that company does in terms of ethics, procedures, or employee status. It has turned this clique type environment into every person for themselves. Very toxic. They got rid of their night cleaning crew the week after I started, and we had to learn how to clean the whole department on our own before close. I work in a meat department, so this meant taking apart and cleaning 2 meat grinders and a bandsaw that were covered with meat goop. Almost the whole department quit because of this, but I stuck around and got the hang of it. After about 3 months though, they hired the cleaning crew back. Now closing is a breeze. Me personally, I'm a security guard at a library. My boss said she wanted me moving around a lot, which is cool. I would get up every 15 minutes. Patrol the entire building, then sit back down for another 15 minutes. It's not the busiest place, so it seems to work out fine, especially since my coworkers always know how to get a hold of me. However, apparently a coworker told my supervisor I was slacking off, and this coworker's known for micromanaging people she has no control over and wasn't doing my job properly. But instead of talking to me about it, my boss just says, "Oh, I meant constantly walking for 2 8 hours straight, no sitting down at all. Also, we fired the only other security guard, so you gotta take his shifts too. So other than a legally obliged 15-minute break, I'm supposed to be hiking all day long and assert my presence to the dozen or so patrons we have. I'm turning in my 2-week notice on Wednesday, and in the meantime I just take very long bathroom breaks." Firing half the staff for no reason other than to clean house when new management caused the other half to leave as well. You wouldn't think it possible for a hotel to go out of business in less than 2 months, but lo and behold it did just that. I once had a retail manager who sent out a memo that we worked so hard and did such a great job this month that she gets a bonus. That went over like a lead balloon. At an airplane factory, managers started rationing gloves, hairnets, masks, and trash bags at the same time we had to go on a 12x6 work week. Like that was gonna make up for the increase in labor. This school wanted to switch to Chromebooks. So what did they do? One summer while teachers weren't working, They removed every single Windows station and replaced them with Chromebooks to be issued to teachers. They were told to figure it out. When teachers came up and asked how they could teach Photoshop, programming, AutoCAD 3D modeling, etc., admin basically googled their program name plus Chromebook extension and told them, see, there's an extension for it and it works. I don't think I have to add that it did not work. They ended up bringing back the desktops for most teachers. Boss pitched a sales incentive trip to Cancun if the team hit the goal. My team exceeded the goal, and then they cancelled the trip. 2 people quit. I accepted a position with their main competitor, and less than a year later, they closed in bankruptcy. Kamasa Beach. Old folks home kitchen. Maybe 20 staff members. Boss declared we were too happy and made a new set of rules. There was to be absolutely no talking, laughing or jokes. The kitchen was to be silent because we were distracting ourselves from work. And I own working less than 9 or 10 hour shifts were forbidden. Bathroom breaks. Going to the bathroom on a shift with less than 9 or 10 hours was a fireable offense. Permitted bathroom breaks could not be on the clock. Your lunch must be used to use the bathroom. Lunch breaks were 15 minutes long. Any communication with management was seen as inappropriate. Staff and management were to be kept separate at all times. A manager fricked a staff member and it made a big deal. That's why this was made. I will not be paid overtime, but will be expected to work. If you are to clock out by 8 PM, but are still needed, you must clock out then return to work. Complaints to ours or labor board are fireable offenses. Yes, people complained. Yes, the place was investigated. Ex-boss was sued. Lost. Morale dropped. They have a hard time keeping employees now, and from what I heard most of the new employees are high school students. Ex-boss announced a sudden retirement for the end of the year and the kitchen will be taken over by all new people. I jumped ship early on. Do not miss the place. There was going to be a $1,500 bonus if the company landed a certain client. I'd been working there about 6 weeks. They had replaced 4 full-time software testers with me, a 20-hour/week student who wrote automated tests, and was well on my way to run more tests than the 4 full-time employees could do. I didn't get the bonus because I was just a part-time employee. From then on I felt like if I wasn't important enough to get a $1,500 bonus, my job must not be important enough to care about too much. Edit because several people have asked similar questions. Why exactly would you expect a bonus for working part-time at a company for less than 2 months? I didn't expect it, but the talk was always team. But then everyone but me got the bonus. Even a token to show appreciation would have gone a long ways. It came across as you're part-time, so you're not part of the team. I was still in college. This was my first real world job. I didn't have any experience or exposure to how the real world works. If I were running a company and we landed a big contract that people were going to get bonuses for, I'd at least give the part-timer something as a gesture of gratitude. A part-time employee was able to do the same amount of work of all 4 staff. What am I missing here? Yep. They were manually testing the web app, moving the mouse, typing stuff, clicking stuff. I wrote a test framework that ran automated tests in Firefox, i.e. Chrome and Safari, and with the various database backends the software supported, and on Windows and Mac. My framework took 30-ish minutes to run all the tests the manual testers had been running before. They were let go because the company was struggling financially between VC funding rounds, not because the company was really planning on moving to automated testing. They, in my opinion, got lucky when I came on board because I was able to do so much. Get out of CAD as fast as possible /development/ etc. This was in 2006 or so. I did move out of CAD and have had a great software development career. I got a master in GIs, did a bunch of GI software development, and I'm headed back to school for an MBA next month. I'm not bitter. I don't resent the company and never really did. The question was, what's something your employer did that instantly killed? I work in a big corporate building. The same older lady came by everyone's desk towards the end of the day to collect the trash. Just the sweetest lady ever, and every time she'd walk to my desk she'd give me a big smile and ask me how my day was and chat for a minute as she got my trash. Usually I'd dump it in for her. I had some rough days, but she has a way to cheer me up and send me home on a higher note. I know I'm not the only one either. So then a few weeks back our work implemented a new policy to cut down on trash usage. It's no longer allowed to have a trash bin at our desk, and we have to walk across the room and use the community trash to throw anything away. Not a huge deal, but the real reason they did it is so they can cut down on cost, i.e. the cleaning crew. Sad to say that I haven't seen Sharon since. Regarding how employees will travel between Site A and Site B, what if something happens to their kids? They will need a way back here, and sharing one vehicle between 8 people makes that difficult. They won't want to come back. They'll stay and work. No. Parents will 100% not care at all about what's happening at work when somebody calls and said there's something wrong with their kid. We don't need to invest in group transport. Then we bought a company van that employees don't like. I have two. Company 1 cancelled the Christmas party and Christmas bonuses for the whole company because we didn't have the money for it. I found out later the CEO and the CTO used company funds to take a week-long ski vacation in Whistler instead of doing something nice for the employees. You better believe I spread that evidence around in the office. Company 2, it's not one specific incident, but my current company in the last couple years switched from guaranteed permanent employment for anyone who worked there long enough to a system of permanent contract labor for a huge section of their workforce. Rumblings of unionization have started amongst the contract workers. I worked at a restaurant with a crap tip, minimum $2.63 an hour. We'd be penalized for being even 5 minutes late, so lots of us showed up 20-30 minutes early to make sure we'd avoid the penalty. This is Boston, so that was an appropriate gamble. I've gotten stuck on the T for 10-20 minutes on numerous occasions. And we'd just get right to work, and there's plenty to do when opening a big restaurant. So we'd clock in and start working. No one was clocking in and failing to work. In fact, I liked getting there early because the kitchen would get up to 113. Most of the morning prep occurred in the kitchen and was fairly rigorous. We didn't really air condition and had to wear long sleeved shirts and pants, so I could knock everything out in a tank and shorts, change into my uniform, and not start my shift a sweaty mess. The manager gave us a big lecture about how it adds up, even if it is only $2.63 an hour. She made a new rule that we couldn't clock in more than 10 minutes before our shift began, even if we were working. By the way, that's a 15-minute window of appropriate clocking in time. In Boston, with a notoriously unreliably public transportation system, crazy weather, and overclogged roads. Frick Grafton Street and frick you, Ashley. I told the hiring manager that I was disappointed in one of his hires because he knew literally nothing about our job and asked him, doesn't that cheapen my knowledge and expertise? His response, well, let's be honest, your job doesn't really need all that, does it? There were 4 other people my level with varying fields of expertise at that meeting, and it got real quiet after that. I worked at a dog daycare center as the assistant manager for a few months. We just started a training class, so you would tell us what commands you would like us to teach your dog and we would pull them aside for 1 hour and teach that command with a certified trainer. The service usually cost an extra $45 plus on top of your daycare visit. Well, our trainer quit unexpectedly, and the owner asked myself and the other manager to step in as the trainers. We informed him that we did not have the proper certifications and our program promised the customers a certified trainer. He then told us to bring them in for an hour and have the dog hang out with us in the office and he would tell the parents what they worked on for the day. Needless to say, we refused to do so, and we were blamed for being non-loyal good-for-nothing millennials. Well, he received 6 2-week notices within 1 week after I revealed this conversation with the employees. This place only had 10 employees in total. Small business, 20 employees plus / boss made a big speech about austerity measures and no raises this year. A week and a half later he drives up in a brand new Silverado with all the bells and whistles. Expense to the business, of course. He would hate to have to pay taxes on those profits. One of the less subtle members of the staff took a little crap in front of his office door. Worked at a trading shop where up to 80% of yearly comp was in the form of an end of year bonus. One year they decided that before the bonus was paid out, every employee had to sign a draconian non-compete agreement banning employment for 12 months at any competing firm. Oh, and you had to sign blind. Some folks signed and then were told they didn't get a bonus. Had a big fight with his wife in front of everybody. I don't think you should run a restaurant with your family members unless you're really solid with each other. I used to work at an English immersion middle school in Korea. The admin was all Korean, including my boss, the vice principal. Word started going around that the school was under investigation for certain admin taking bribes to admit students. The VP got visibly anxious for a few weeks. Then one Sunday night we got a text message from one of the Korean teachers at the school. The vice principal has passed away. It turns out he had hung himself in the school lobby that afternoon. The teaching staff still had to be at school the next morning, even though classes were cancelled for several days. I remember walking into the school and seeing a custodian mopping the spot where the VP had been hanging. Morale tanked pretty hard for a while. At a company-wide meeting, 45 people called the employees an expense. Did not go over well at all. 2 people actually stood up and threatened to quit on the spot if the boss didn't reevaluate his statement and could explain what was wrong with it. I worked at a family-owned market that was well known and loved by locals. The owners were a lovely couple that took care of their employees and would bend over backwards for their customers. They were very active in the community and highly respected. They had a few core employees and would hire on temp staff during the summer and holidays. The temps were mostly high schoolers and college kids that were home on break. They would bring back the same people as long as they could, and the kids would try to stay as long as they could. The pay was well above market for those positions. We could shop there and get a 75% discount. After 6 months you got 2 weeks paid vacation. And the owners would close the store a couple days a year and host a party for all of the employees. It was the best job any high schooler in the area could get. I lived right next to the store and my parents were friends with the owners, so I was given a job there. All my friends were jealous. After working there for a few years, the couple decided they wanted to retire to spend time with their daughter and her children in another state. Many tears were shed, and they had a huge retirement party where they introduced their son to everyone and told us he was taking over. They gushed about his prestigious business education and background. As soon as they were gone, the son decided he was going to remake the store in his image. He fired basically all the staff, most of whom that had been there for 10 to 15 plus years. He then staffed the whole place with homeschool kids and junkies. He cut the discounts and vacations. He hired some old high school friends to manage the place, so he could take the profits to go party and get coked out. The shop went from having the same staff for years to having to retrain an entirely new staff every other month. No one wanted to stay. Managers were reporting perfectly good product as damaged and taking it home. Shelves sat empty. Locals stopped shopping there. The place became a corpse of what it had been. The original owners had enough of their friends complain to them about their son that they came back for a short time and tried to make it right. But it was too late. Their original staff had all moved on and vendors had stopped doing business with the store. They decided to close the store, sell the property, and move away permanently. Last I heard, the son was in trouble with the eyes and his wife divorced him when she found him banging a stripper. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.